Are you serious? Are you serious? Well, it looks like Secretary of State Anthony Blinken blinks literally as he goes to the Middle East. He was supposed to meet with leaders of Hamas in Gaza and leaders of Israel in Jerusalem. But there's been some changes, but the message is still the same, as the Biden administration is still pushing a two-state solution. Let me put a shout out right now if I could, and I'll give you the full detail on this. This is a prophecy alert moment. Good to see everybody in here today. Excuse me. Real fast here. Yes, guys, if you need to, it's www.relaxthepain.com. That's www.relaxthepain.com. You can get a patch, put it on any muscle that you might be having like a pulled muscle or a deep bruise, or maybe a muscle spasm. And you can put this little patch on right over that area where it's at. And what's so good is we don't have to rely on pharmaceutical stuff. It's a real good way to do this. The pain is a result of electrical signals being sent to your brain. It's a patented technology that will help alleviate the pain at the source, providing natural relief anywhere in your body in seconds. I didn't know that this could work, except that I had this knuckle right here was very, very sore. And I found out that when you put a tape-like patch on that area, that all of a sudden I didn't feel the pain in the joint no more. And I'm like, how does that work? I couldn't believe it. I actually didn't believe it till I did it. And they told me, the doctors were explaining to me, it's because your brain focuses on the tape and forgets about what's going on in the joint, because the brain says, what is this? What is this attached to my skin here? And for about 24 hours, your brain has to try to figure out what this is that's attached to the outside of your skin. What is this tape? What is this technology? And so there's no drugs involved. It's just incredible technology. So check it out, guys. Go to www. I call it tape, but it's an adhesive. It sticks it. Go to www.relaxthepain.com. That's www.relaxthepain.com. All right. So Anthony Blinken blinks. Hang on one second, okay? So sorry about that. Heidi's doing a class this morning. We're not going to leave till she gets done with her class. She's doing a Hebrew midterm or something right now on Hebrew. So we're going to leave after she's finished driving home to Indiana. Anyway, thank you so much, Cheryl. Thank you. So here's the deal. We have a situation where Anthony Blinken is sent to the Middle East. Now, according to the Associated Press, it says that his job was to fix the Palestinian ties on his maiden Mideast trip. That is the title of the article. Blinken seeks to fix the Palestinian ties on the maiden Mideast trip. But at the same time, we all know, because of what he has said and what President Biden has said, is they really believe the only way to solve the issues in the Middle East is a two-state solution. They are all about parting the land. And let me read to you what happened. So Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, I believe, blinked, because he announced plans to reopen the key diplomatic outreach office to the Palestinians and pledged $40 million in new aid, reversing key policies of the former Trump administration as he moved to bolster the embattled Palestinian government in the West Bank. On his first official visit to the region, Blinken met with the Israeli Prime Minister and Palestinian leaders with the immediate aim of shoring up last week's ceasefire that ended 11 days of fighting between Israel and Hamas militants in the Gaza Strip. Now, this is very important because he said he was going to meet with the Israeli leaders, which he did, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the Palestinian leaders. Well, the Palestinian leaders is Hamas. That's who's in charge of the Gaza Strip, not Mahmoud Abbas, who's in charge of the Palestinian Authority. At one point, the Palestinian Authority over in Ramallah was in charge of all the Palestinians, both in Ramallah and the West Bank and in Gaza. But after Hamas took over in 2007, they have hijacked the Gaza Strip, and they are running the Gaza Strip. They're the ones who collect the funds when world governments send money into Gaza. It goes to the Hamas leaders. So when Blinken said, I'm going there to fix the relationship, he didn't meet with Hamas. Well, I'm glad he didn't, because Hamas is terrorist. But it depends on who says they are, because some of the world says they're terrorists, and some of the world says that they're representatives. Freedom fighters even. You've heard all kinds of different things. Well, anyway, he vowed to rally international support for the effort while also promising to ensure that none of the aid would reach Hamas. So he's going to give it to Mahmoud Abbas in the West Bank. Now, how is Abbas going to get it to help rebuild the ruins inside of Gaza? There's no way they can put it back into Gaza unless they hand it to the hands of Hamas. So I'm telling you, the United States is giving the money to Hamas by way of Mahmoud Abbas. That's really what's happening. To be honest with you, Anthony Blinken just blinked. Blinken repeatedly alluded to the underlying issues of the decades-old conflict and expressed empathy for both sides. But he showed little interest in launching another U.S. push for lasting peace, perhaps because previous efforts by past administrations have all failed. Instead, he expressed hope for creating a better environment that might one day yield peace talks. Despite those modest aims, Blinken made clear that President Joe Biden will pursue a more even-handed approach to the region than former President Donald J. Trump, who sided overwhelmingly with Israel in virtually every area of disagreement with the Palestinians. Well, it's not that he's disagreeing with the Palestinians, because the Palestinian people who live in Israel are Israelis. And I know, I've been there 10 times. I've met with them. They live in Jerusalem. Some live in the West Bank. I've been to the West Bank. I've even been in their homes. Nice people. We're not talking about the Palestinian people. We're talking about Hamas. That's the problem. Everybody wants to, it's the big white elephant in the room that nobody wants to acknowledge is the real problem. Everybody wants to put it off on Israel. And that's not true. And sometimes somebody's got who's actually been there, who actually knows what they're talking about, which I do. I'm an expert in this field. Believe me. They are not telling you the truth. You're getting a half truth and a half lie. Despite these modest aims, Blinken says, as I told the president, I'm here to underscore the commitment of the United States to rebuilding the relationship with the Palestinian Authority and the Palestinian people. A relationship built on mutual respect and also a shared conviction that Palestinians and Israelis alike deserve equal measures of security, freedom, opportunity, and dignity, he said after a meeting with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in the West Bank. But in an act with great symbolic meaning, Blinken said the United States would reopen its Jerusalem consulate, an office that for years served as the de facto embassy to the Palestinians. So, all right, Biden's going to leave the U.S. embassy in Jerusalem, but he's going to reopen the U.S. consulate, but it really will work as a de facto embassy for the Palestinians, okay, to be quite honest with you. So Trump has downgraded its operation, placed them under his ambassador to Israel, which is where they should be, because there's only one state there. So basically, we're going back to the same old policies of Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama and George Bush, for that matter, George W. Bush, we're going back to the status quo of Middle East diplomacy, which is, once again, causing Israel to have to deal with all these different nations trying to undermine their existence. But it's all God's business, okay? So in other words, the Lord is going to take care of it. It's in his hands. It's Bible prophecy. And it's amazing that it happened on the night of a blood moon. Now, let me just say that. I was on the air last night, late last night. I was a guest on the Ground Zero broadcast with Clyde Lewis. And I brought up some things. There's been a couple articles written about me here in the last 15 hours, I guess. One by the IB Times of India about Paul Begley and the blood moon. And then there's another one written by UK Express about Paul Begley and the blood moon prophecies. And both of them quote different scriptures that I use in my broadcast, which I was really glad they actually quote right out of the King James Version of the Bible. One out of Revelation, one quoted out of Matthew, one of them out of Joel. But the key point is this. While I'm with Clyde Lewis last night, I told Clyde, I said, you have to understand what happened during this blood moon. We have 12 solar eclipses, 12 solar flares that erupted from the sun that are hitting the earth right now during this day of the blood moon. And they are all bringing these CMEs of pressure. I'm still looking for a major earthquake. And I actually think that there will be an earthquake 7.0 or higher in the before midnight tonight. It could be wrong, or within the next 24 hours because of the pressure that's hitting. I told him also that the cyclone was crashing into India today at the same time, and that's happening. It's also the largest high tide of the year simultaneously with this cyclone hitting India. Not good. This was a super blood moon, not just a regular blood moon, but a super. This is the biggest moon of the year. It's the moon's day. It's closest to the earth than any other day. The gravitational pull is enormous when it's a big moon, but it's incredible when it's a super blood moon. And then we have the massive volcano in Congo. It erupted for a second time during this blood moon. And also we have the worst drought in 127 years, really realized now in the western states of America. But Anthony Blinken's visit to the Middle East and meeting with the Israelis and Hamas during a blood moon where he pushes a two-state solution. I find that is a huge, huge sign, and not a good one. The parting of the land during a super blood moon. Okay. I think that, see, this is part of the sign that nobody will report on. There probably won't be any articles of Paul Begley talking about the fact that Blinken in the Middle East pushing a two-state solution during a super blood moon is a major sign in the Bible. But I'm telling you, it is. And God said not to part his land. Let me read to you from the book of Joel, chapter 3. It says, "For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat." That's in Jerusalem, guys, just outside the eastern gate in the Kidron Valley. Okay, it's called the Valley of Jehoshaphat. "And I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land." So the Bible tells you we're not to part the land, yet it tells you they're going to part the land. And God will bring the world into judgment, into the valley of Jehoshaphat. if they do this. And what Blinken just did was on the super blood moon, he chose the day of the super blood moon to stand in the valley of Jehoshaphat. He went to Jerusalem. He also went to Ramallah and met with Mahmoud Abbas. And he's pushing for what Joe Biden said the day before is there's no other solution but a two-state solution or the parting of the land. It's not an accident that Blinken blinked. It's not an accident that he went there on a blood moon. This is not a good sign, okay? And so I wanted to share that prophetic sign in the Bible. Most people will not see it because and even the tabloids, but they'll write about me and they'll say, Begley missed another prediction. I didn't say the end of the world was today. I said the end of the world's on the horizon, though. The end of time is just, this blood moon's a sign that the end is on the horizon. Believe me, it's on the horizon. And whenever things like this go on, they're trying to force the parting of the land during a super blood moon. Ooh, Lord have mercy. The Bible tells us in Zechariah, don't touch the apple of God's eye. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's in Zechariah 2. Give me one moment here. Yeah, you're not to do that either, okay? Yeah, here we go. So this is Zechariah chapter 2, verse 8. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations, which spoil you. Talking about Israel. For he that toucheth you, Israel, toucheth the apple of his eye. For behold, I will shake my hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil to their servants. And ye shall know that the Lord of hosts has sent me. Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for lo, I come, and I will dwell in the midst of thee, saith the Lord. So don't touch the apple of God's eye, okay? Don't do this. But that's exactly what we're seeing attempted. It's happening on a super blood moon as the agenda to part the land. In Joel chapter 3, verses 1, 2, and 3, and then read Zechariah 2, verses 8 and 9 and 10. But there's also some good news for America. If you read verse 11, and many nations shall be joined to the Lord in that day, and shall be my people, and I will dwell in the midst of thee, and thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts has sent me unto thee. So not every nation turns against Israel, because many nations shall be joined to the Lord that day. So in that valley of Jehoshaphat, there will be a judgment day. Some nations will choose to go against Israel and the Jewish people and touch the apple of God's eye, and some will join the Lord's side and be blessed. This is your time to be blessed. This is your time to be blessed. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I've just heard a guy who is doing he's doing a podcast, and he's not doing it on YouTube because what he had to say would never fly with you, the Christian people. Really wouldn't fly with probably the world. He was pushing some serious, heavy rhetoric of anti-Semitic rhetoric. And he was doing it from the position, he was trying to show you in the Bible, and he was trying to force it upon the Christians to turn on Israel. Wow. Dangerous. That's dangerous. Give your life to Jesus Christ. It's getting crazy out there, and there's some really crazy stuff going on. There's one guy on YouTube, and now I do not know his name, but he's saying Paul Begley will lead people to the Antichrist. Now, I think the video he put out's been out there like 4 years, and ever so often somebody sends me an email with a link to that saying, Begley, are you leading people to the Antichrist? And when I watch the video, it's the most ridiculous argument in history. And this guy he's a doctorate of theology from one of the major seminaries, and this guy spends his time trying to warn people that Paul Begley will lead you to the Antichrist. I'm the last guy in the world, maybe. I'm the last guy that's going to lead you to the Antichrist. I'm the guy that's going to tell you who he is. I'm the guy that's going to point him out. I'm the guy that's going to say, there he is. Stay away. I'm not going to lead you to him. I'm going to warn you about him. Give your life to Jesus Christ. It's almost over. It really is. It's almost over. I mean, seriously, when I say that, don't blink. Don't blink. It's almost over. You might miss the rapture if you blink.